Anselm, there are some images which will flash gently behind us while we're talking. And some of them are of your studios in Kwasi and the place you've made in Barjac, and then some is the exhibition, which you don't have to focus on. Otherwise, it'd be like a racing commentary. But
it's a bad photograph.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
yeah, I think that was taken on my iPhone for another talk. But anyway.
You took it?
Yeah, but that's better. Anyway, it's not a critique of my photography. Many people have been struck by the exhibition. People who know your work feel it shows aspects that they know, but differences too. But a lot of people have been brought to your work who didn't know it before here in London. The thing that I'm always struck by, though, is what you get out of exhibitions that you make. Because Alan's right, it is a retrospective, but it's also an exhibition you have made. There's new work. You've worked with the Academy, with Kathleen Soriano, the curator, and you've made this exhibition. 2 months after the show's opened, what do you think now about the exhibition? What do you learn? Or is it something that you just push to one side and get on with making the next body of work?
No, it's always different where you see your work. So in the studio, it's mixed up with other things, with other paintings. And when you put it then out of the studio, in a museum, in a gallery, then it's a proof if it's good or not, because then you see it alone. It has to pretend alone what it is. And so in a retrospective, I never did before a retrospective, because normally it's boring for an artist to look at the old work. You know, you want to go further. But here in the Royal Academy, I like very much the Royal Academy. The first show I had here together with other artists was in
81.
81, New Spirit in Painting. And so I have a relation with the Royal Academy. So I did my best with Kathleen to do a good show.
Which is a brilliantly evasive answer, because what you actually learned from it, we don't know. But I think it's maybe difficult to. I think historians and commentators try and assimilate, and I think artists think in a different way. But I am curious about your relationship to history, and I've talked to you a lot about it, and I'm still not going to let you off the hook tonight. But I'm conscious of, first of all, about your own history. When you make a show that has a retrospective element, are you forced to confront your own creative history in ways you wouldn't otherwise want to do?
Yes, I have to look what I have done and what I will do. And so the past and the future comes together. You know, for me, the past is not alone, and the future is not alone. For me, it's one movement. It's a little bit difficult with the intellect to conceive it, but I see it in my inner eye, in my eyes. You know, you see, for me, past and future is always one thing. It has one direction, but it goes in two directions, you know? And it's like with a life, you know? You get more and more experience, and you go back in the past and the future, and when this is really stretched out as long as possible to the infinite, then you die. And then it's good to die, you know, that when you have accomplished this, that's fine.
That might imply that there are rarely moments of closure in your creative life. I don't just mean when a work is finished, but people are often conscious about whether you finished a series or not, and you often return to similar themes later on. Do you ever feel that things have been completed creatively?
No, I never return. For me, it's all circles. You know, I go in circles. And like a tree, you know, when you cut a tree, you see all these lines, and you see good years and bad years, you know, in the tree. When the line is bigger, it was a lot of sun. When it's smaller, it was less rain, less sun. So I think in circles. And a circle is clear that you come back to always to the same things, you know, but you expand, because you do the next circle and the next circle. Rilke, he made a wonderful poem about that. He said, ich lebe mein Leben in wachsenden Ringen. Ich weiß nicht, den letzten werde ich vielleicht nicht vollbringen. Can you translate this?
No. But it sounded beautiful. Poetry is always seem to feature in your work, or it's become very prominent in your work. And it's a very odd relationship, I suppose, as to how one medium informs another. Can you just explain a little of how poetry works for you?
Yeah, first I had a problem. When I was 16 years old, I got a prize for my writing about, I made a travel and visited all countries where Van Gogh was. In Netherlands, in the Borinage, in Brussels, in Paris, and then in Arles. In Arles I worked, I think, 6 weeks with a farmer in Arles to see all the places of Van Gogh. And then I made a journal. I wrote a journal and I got the first prize. And then a famous Walter Jens, a famous German critic, wrote the second book or the third book could be published, you know. And then, you know, when I was 16 years old, I thought, that's fantastic, you know. So I was always it was always ambivalent if I should be a writer or a painter. But you cannot do both, you know. I don't know if you wrote once the writings of Picasso. It's so boring, you know. You cannot do both at the same time.
What about Van Gogh?
No, Van Gogh, he wrote wonderful letters to his brother. But this is part of the paintings, you know.
Okay.
He wrote about, it's not literature. He exposed his projects, what he wanted to paint, what he did, and it's fantastic, you know, what he wrote. But it's not poetry, you know. It's part of his work as a painter.
So let's go on to poetry then. How you work with poetry. So you decided you couldn't do both.
Yes, but I was always shocked by poetry, by Paul Celan, by Ingeborg Bachmann, by Rilke, by a lot of poets. And this is, you know, I don't paint because I want to do a new style or I want to accomplish the art history or things. I paint because when it's something important for me, when I have a shock, when I have an Erlebnis, experience. It could be a piece of music, it could be a poem, it could be a novel, and then I start to paint because I need it then. What was the question?
We're still on poetry, but this is going in good directions. But so it's how you work with, or the kind of relationships you have with poetry. I mean, whether it feels like a conversation. Is it possible to have a conversation with a dead poet?
Yes, I have it. I have it with Ingeborg Bachmann. You know, I ask her if what I did the day before is good or not. You know, it's my critic. And most of the time it's horrible, you know, it's clear, because you try to do something and you don't succeed, not in 70% you don't succeed, you have to redo it and redo it. So I have always this big phenomena like Ingeborg Bachmann, like Paul Celan behind me and look at me, and I ask them if what I do is good enough.
You mentioned Van Gogh, and you mentioned the 16-year-old Kiefer going on a kind of pilgrimage to these sites, and it was published in Der Spiegel. Was that
much later?
Was that the moment before you did that journey that you think crystallized your desire to be a painter or an artist? Is that the moment that it happened?
No, it was always. I think I have little drawings from when I was 5 years old, 6 years, and it looks like Paul Klee. It looks very good. Like, I can tell this because it's not me. You know, it's me, but it's another time. So I was always, I knew I would be a painter.
So why did you go to law school?
No, I had a complex, and I thought I don't need art school, you know. I'm a genius, I don't need art school, you know. And so, but I wanted to be on the university to be with other students, to hear the professors about Romanistic, about other things. And I thought I study law, because law is so, the language of law is so different from real language. It's so exotic, you know, for me, exotic, that I liked it very much. It's like the difference between art and life, you know, there's a big difference. And so there's a big difference between life and law too. Because it's so, and also I was interested in the sophists, you know, in the sophists, this school of philosophers in the sixth century before Jesus Christ. They can tell you the contrary from what is true, you know. You know, there are lawyers here?
Many, I think. Yeah.
Many. And this I was interested because it gives you another aspect of reality, you know. For me, reality doesn't exist, you know, because if you read something in a newspaper, you never know what they saw. If you study history, it's always wrong, you know, because every period, every king, every president makes his own history, you know. History is like a material you can form, like argil, you know, like argil?
Clay, yeah.
Like clay. And so for this reason, I think the law is an example how you can.
Something's either going to come crashing down, or we're going to go.
how you can treat reality. So you get sensible for the positiveness to reality. You know, you think you get. It's important to get suspect. No, you get thoughts. You have thoughts.
Inclinations, thoughts, suspicions
about reality.
So it's interesting. You seem to hint or seem to imply that that law is a parallel reality. That's, in some ways, it's not that far away from art, because art is also a parallel reality.
It's completely far away, but it's another example.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
It's far away, but there's a similar. There's a
same,
similarity in parallel
it's the same
discourse.
difference.
Yes.
But things who have the same difference are not the same. They have just the same difference.
So you read. God, you'd have been a good lawyer. So you read law, but know you want to be a painter. Is there a problem? Is there any trauma with you and your family, with you and anyone, in stopping law and becoming an artist? Was it an easy transition to make?
Not for my father. He thought I should finish what I started. You know, Germans, they finish what you started, you know. And no, but then I was in the art school, and then it was going on.